Hi there, this is Patricia from patriciafenty.com, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet this really super simple scarf. It is suited for beginners. The only stitches you need to know are a chain stitch, a half double crochet, and that's it. So yeah, it's a really fun tutorial. I actually made the scarf to go along with the hat, so the simple crochet hat tutorial I did. I'll put a link below. And in that tutorial, I made the hat, but I didn't put the pom-pom on, but I decided after the fact to add it. So I have a tutorial for that as well. So let's get started. So I am using the Lion Brand Ferris Wheel acrylic yarn. It's 100% acrylic yarn. It's a number 4 medium weight, and this color is Vintage Carousel. They have several different colors, but what I love about this yarn, especially if you're a beginner crocheter, is that the color changes so beautifully, and we're going to be doing such a simple stitch, but the scarf will look really beautiful in part because of the way the colors change with this yarn. So I do recommend this. Of course, you can use any yarn you like. And we're using a 4mm crochet hook, some scissors, a darning needle, a tape measure, and you may need a stitch marker if you want to keep track of your pattern repeat. Okay, so we'll begin by doing a foundation chain. So we'll start with a slip knot. So you begin by wrapping the yarn around your index finger, around the thumb, and then bring the yarn in through that back of that lower loop and snug that up, and that'll give you a slip knot. Then put the loop on your hook and snug that up so you've got some movement there on the shank of your hook. If you are new to crochet, I do have a beginner crochet series, which I do recommend because I talk about tips about how to set up crochet tension, which can be really helpful. I'll put a link to that below. So, setting up the tension, we're going to do a row of chain stitches. So yarn over and bring your yarn through the loop. And that's a chain 1. Yarn over, bring your yarn through the loop. And that's chain 2. And you want to make these stitches quite loose. If you have a hard time with your tension, you may want to go up to, say, a 4.5mm hook just to create your beginning chain row. And so I'm going to do 21 or 5.5 inches, depending on your tension. And you want to have an odd number of stitches. So go ahead and I'll see you at the end of this row. And I forgot to mention, the reason for an odd number of stitches is to allow for tassels if desired. If you don't want to do tassels, then you can do even or odd stitches. It doesn't matter. All right, so I've chained 21 at 5.5 inches. So now you're going to chain 2. And then you're going to work a half double crochet into the 3rd stitch from your hook. So yarn over, skip 2 stitches, and going into the top post, yarn over, pull your yarn through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over, and go into the top post of the next stitch, yarn over, bring your yarn through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and bring your yarn through all 3. So you're just going to work a half double crochet into the top post of your beginning chain, and you'll do that all the way along until you get to the other side. So I'll see you there. Now we're coming to the end of this row. I'm going to call this row 2. So do a half double crochet into that top post and make sure to catch that very beginning chain and do a half double crochet. Chain 1, turn your work. So you should have 21 stitches. So now you're going to do a half double crochet under both posts of the 1st stitch. So you skip your chain 1, half double crochet under both posts of the 1st stitch. Then you're going to do a half double crochet under just the back post of the next stitch. Oops, lost my stitch there. So just into the back post, and then a half double crochet under the back post of all the stitches along the rest of this row except the last one. So go ahead and work your way along this row, and I'll see you on the other side. Now we're coming to the end of row 3, which is just the same as row 2, except the beginning of the row and the end is a little bit different. So I have 2 stitches left, so you do your half double crochet into the back post of this stitch, and then for the very last stitch of this row you're going to do a half double crochet under both posts of the last stitch, just like that. And again, you may want to count your stitches to make sure you're staying on track. So you should have 21 stitches. And when you're counting your stitches, this beginning stitch will be sort of a fat one. That's just actually 1 stitch, and the next one is a little bit thinner. That's because you have a chain 1 and a half double crochet together. So now you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and now you're going to work a half double crochet in the first stitch. Don't go into that first chain, but in the first stitch after the chain 1, and you go under both posts. And now you're going to work a half double crochet under both posts for this entire row. So really easy. So just go ahead and do half double crochet under both posts, and we'll see you at the end. Great. Now here we are at the end of row 4, and I forgot to mention you can keep track of your pattern repeat by using the stitch marker at the beginning of this. This row was going under both posts all the way. So I have 2 stitches left, and so for this row we're just going to go under both posts of all the stitches and doing your half double crochet under both posts of those last 2 stitches, chain 1, turn your work, and then row 5 is exactly the same as row 4. So you're going to skip your chain 1 and do a half double crochet under both posts of each stitch, going all the way along. So go ahead and do that, and I'll see you on the other side. Now we're coming to the end of row 5. Just finishing off by going under both posts here, and so this is the end of this repeat where we're going under both posts of the stitch, and you'll know because your stitch marker will be on this side. So chain 1, and now we're going to change the pattern, which is the pattern repeat where we're just going into the back post. But for these 2 rows, you're always going to start with your half double crochet going under both posts of the first stitch and last stitch. And what this does, it gives the outside edge of the scarf a little bit more of a sturdy finish. And then for the second stitch, you're just going to go under the back post only, and again under the back post, and work your way all the way along, just doing a half double crochet under the back posts. And then at the end of this row, you'll finish off by going under both posts of the last stitch. So essentially that is your pattern repeat. You can move your stitch marker here. And so you'll do 2 rows going under the back post, but starting and ending each row going under both posts. And then you're going to repeat 2 rows by going under both posts of all the stitches, and that's your pattern repeat. So go ahead, and I'll come back in a bit and show you how I'm making out. Welcome back. So here we are. I've done about 24 inches of the scarf, and you can see how nicely this is crocheting up. And I want to mention that this is a good project to help you practice keeping your edges straight. And it can be really easy to lose a stitch on here. When you are coming to the end of the row, you may think you're at the end of the row, but there's actually one more stitch there. And I've actually missed that a couple of times, and I haven't noticed it till I'm up a few rows and it's going in a little bit. And so that's why you have to count your stitches and pay attention to what you're doing and making sure that you're catching the very last stitch. So yeah, count your stitches. It can be a little bit of a meditative process, crocheting and counting your stitches. But there you go. It's coming along really nicely. So carry on and we'll see you at the end. Okay, here we are at the end. This is how much yarn I have left from the ball. So just one more stitch to finish off. And then to finish off, you do a chain one to fasten off and snug that up. And of course, then you're going to want to darn your ends in, the beginning yarn and the ending yarn. And so my scarf ended up being altogether 60 inches long, based on the 21 stitches across and half double crochet and the way my tension works out. Yours might work out a little bit differently. So at 60 inches is just barely long enough, so I am going to add some tassels to this. Now you'll get more length out of tassels than you do out of crocheting the body. So if you want, you can save a bit of yarn at the end to do your tassels. And doing a rough calculation, I'm going to do tassels that are 8 inches long, which will give me a 3.5 inch finished tassel. I will do 11 of them in every other stitch, and I'm going to put 3 strands per tassel. So if I need 11 tassels on each side, that's 22 tassels with 3 strands of yarn per tassel. I will need 66 strands of yarn. And if I cut them 8 inches in length, I would need about 528 inches or 14 yards. So if you did that, you will lose about 4 inches of the crocheted length, but you'll gain 7 inches of the tassel length. So though the other thing you could do is if you did the hat pattern, which I highly recommend, the hat pattern actually doesn't use a whole ball of yarn. So you could use the leftover yarn from the hat pattern, and there's even enough yarn to make a pom-pom. So you can use the leftover yarn from that. And that's what I'm going to do. So here is my leftover yarn from the hat pattern. So what you want to do is just cut a piece of cardboard that is 4 inches in depth, and you wrap your strands around the cardboard, and you wind as many as you need. I'm just going to cut a few here for a demonstration, and then you just cut it in half and you have your 8 inch pieces, just like that. And of course, when you make that many strands, you're going to have an assortment of colors, so you can kind of mix those up a bit. Here I cut some here already. So just take 3 strands, mix up the colors a little bit, and just line them up like this. And then you take your crochet hook and find your very first stitch, and you go under both posts. You want to pick up 2 posts and line these up, and then just grab them with your hook, and you're going to just create a loop here. But you just need to be a little bit mindful, keeping the tails even, and when you pull it through, it'll go a little bit wonky too. So just sort of watch. Oh, I lost my grip there. I'm doing this upside down, so it's kind of awkward. And then you just pull them through like that. So that will give you an extra 3.5 inches on each side of your scarf. And now the other thing you could do, if you didn't do the hat tutorial and you don't have extra yarn, this yarn has so many lovely colors that you could just pick a color out of there and look through your yarn stash and maybe you'll have some yarn that you can use. I do, and I thought these colors would work to do tassels as well. So if you want to do the tassels, go ahead, and you want to trim them at the end, and then you do want to block this, the scarf. You may have noticed as you're crocheting the fabric is kind of wonky, so you do want to block it, and you can do that in two ways. One is you can use a steamer and just steam it and hand press it, and the other way is this is machine washable because it's acrylic, so you can wash it on a gentle cycle and just lay it flat to dry and just sort of hand press it to lay it flat and then let it dry and then you're done. So I'm going to do that and I will reveal my finished scarf. All right, here we are all done. And I think this turned out so beautifully. I love how this crocheted up. Really, really simple stitch, but a beautiful yarn. And the yarn really just made such a difference. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. And once I had blocked the scarf itself, it was 61 inches, and with the tassels, the whole scarf finished off at 68 inches. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel to get more inspiring and creative videos. Thank you for joining me.